Ollie was at a lecture. It was a special visit from former U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney, who was speaking over at Hopkins and talking about politics and various things of a partisan sort of a nature. Ollie was not a huge fan of Dick Cheney. He had done some not so great things with the country overall, but Ollie wanted to hear him out. So there he was in the audience. And about 5 minutes or so into the talk, there was this smack noise, like a sharp crack. 2 or 3 of them. And everyone was jumpy because, they were worried that it was somebody trying to hurt the former vice president. And the security came rushing in. But what people realized when they looked carefully was that it was crayons. That somebody had thrown 4 or 5 crayons at the stage. Hit the podium, didn't even hit the vice president, former vice president. And while everyone was looking at the crayons, the person was gone. The only thing anyone saw, which Ollie only barely saw, or heard more accurately, was the side exit swinging shut. So somebody had come to the lecture, chucked some crayons, and darted out the side exit before anyone even noticed what was going on. Now, people were taking this all very seriously because it's a heightened political time, and Dick Cheney is a former vice president, and that's kind of a big deal. But in all his mind, it was crayons. And if the person really wanted to do something really nefarious, they apparently could have. But Ollie kept an eye on it. About a month later, there was another guest lecture, another talk on campus. This time it was from a big oil tycoon, somebody that made a lot of money on petroleum. And they were giving a big talk to the business department. And Ollie went because, well, for one thing, he was kind of interested in some advice on how to build a business, but also he thought, I wonder if the crayon thrower will be back. About 10 minutes into the talk, when the person was extolling the virtues of petroleum, whack, 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 crayons hit the stage. One time one of them did smack the speaker in the shoulder, but again, it was a crayon, so not that big of a deal. This time, Ollie just barely caught sight of the person darting out the side door. It's a different lecture hall, but this went out a side door too, and the person made their way out. Ollie darted after them, but he was on the whole other side of the lecture hall, and by the time he got out the door, he couldn't see anybody. The door led out into a hallway, and there were a bunch of other doors on the hallway, and there's nobody there but her janitor. He asked the janitor, Ollie did, if someone had run by, and they said, oh, yeah. Yeah, they went, I don't know, down the hall. I wasn't really watching. So we've got a serial crayon thrower, Ollie said. And the janitor said, we've got what? I said, oh, sorry, I'm mostly thinking out loud, but this is the second time when there's been a political type speaker and somebody's come to the talk and thrown crayons at them. Oh, I heard about that with the Chenny thing. Yeah. So somebody threw crayons at this guy too, and Ollie nodded. Like, yeah. Well, students, man, they'll do all sorts of strange things. There wasn't much else Ollie could do, so he just went about the rest of his day. He went back in and heard the rest of the talk. And it wasn't that useful, honestly. When Ollie really sat down to think about it, it seemed like what had happened was this guy and his company had gotten lucky. And most of his advice was survivorship bias. But now he was thinking about the crayon thrower. He went up after and asked security if he could look at the crayons, and they were just regular crayons. And he asked if there was any plans afoot to catch the guy. The security said, "Yeah, it's hard. Whoever that is, they're quick, and we're thinking about trying to search people, but it seems weird to search people for crayons. And I mean, it might work because most college students don't carry crayons, but it's not like it's against the law to carry crayons around. I don't know. We're still figuring it out." Next political type talk was about 4 weeks later. This one was somebody from more on the liberal side of the political spectrum. This was an anarchist who was there talking about different political systems and whether or not anarchy could be a functional political system for a regional or national government. It was an interesting talk because I was aware that anarchy hadn't really worked at a government level, that it had worked in a few cases at, a town or a company. Anarchy where nobody's really in charge. So he's interested to hear the speaker talk. About 7 minutes in, whack, whack, whack. Crayons. But this time, Ollie had positioned himself closer to... Well, the problem is there were two side doors in the lecture hall this one was in. But Ollie had gotten earlier and sat near one of the side doors. And it was indeed the same side door that the crayon thrower darted toward. It was kind of impressive. The person threw him and didn't even wait. He was already on the move before the crayons even hit the stage. But this time Ollie was right behind him. The person got to the door first, but Ollie was right behind him. This one led out right to the outside, though. And there's a whole crowd of students. Ollie tried his best to keep up, but the person was lost in the crowd. Dang it, Ollie said. He went back in and he listened to another interesting half an hour, and the person, the anarchy speaker, really didn't mind. He thought it was kind of cool, in fact, that he got a protester. At least that's how he interpreted it, but Ollie wasn't so sure it was a normal protest. So this time he was scouring all the talk notices. He saw one that he was near certain had to be a target for the crayon thrower. It was a former mayor of Baltimore, and they were talking about how to reform the police department. And they were talking to the political science department. And it's an invited talk. And Ollie checked out the venue, and there was only one side entrance. So this time, Ollie didn't sit in a chair. As soon as he got in, he snuck his way over to the side entrance, climbed up above the door to where he could see the stage, but he was hidden for any normal view, clinging to the ceiling. Ollie just had to hope the person was there and that they threw crayons early on, because if they waited too long, it'd be too hard to Ollie to hold on and he would fall. Wouldn't get hurt, but it would blow his cover. And 11 minutes in, Ollie's worried that was exactly what was going to happen. His arms were starting to droop. He'd been holding himself there for a while. And all of a sudden, he saw somebody reach into a bag. They were seated just a few feet away from the door. Sure enough, they pulled out a handful of crayons and flung them at the podium. And again, before the crayons even hit the podium, the guy was on the move, but Ollie was ready. As he got close to the door, Ollie let go and fell right on top of him. "Ah!" the guy said. Credit to the crayon thrower. He didn't stop. He just kept running right through the door with an octopus on his head. But now, the scene was definitely chaos. The door led out into a fairly wide hallway with some classrooms in it. And so here was this person with a mostly empty backpack running down the hall blindly with an octopus on his head trying to tackle the runner. And there was much grunting and struggling, a little bit of yelling, some from Ollie saying, "All right, now just knock it off," and some of the person saying, Eventually, Ollie could tell the person wasn't stopping. They were going to keep running, trying to make their escape. So Ollie kept a grip on the person's head, reached down with one of his arms and wrapped it around one of the person's knees. Down they went, wham, onto the ground. Kind of squished Ollie, but he's pretty squishable. He was going to have a bruise, but the person was going to have a bigger bruise. And then he held on as tight as he could. He didn't want to suffocate the person, but he wasn't going to let him go. He made his way down, so he was wrapped around the arms, and he still had a grip on two of the legs. It was a struggle. The person was decently strong. But Ollie had a good angle, kind of had him hog-tied with his own arms. And Ollie figured he would wait, because surely the security would be after them. So after another 2 minutes of writhing and struggling there in the hallway, security came busting in. Said, "Stop there, you!" "Oh, octopus, you're helping. Okay." They got out their tasers. They said, "Crayon guy, freeze, or we'll tase you. Octopus guy, you can let go, I think." Ollie obliged, he let go. The person immediately tried to scramble to their feet and dart down the hallway. The security guard shot the taser, and the guy was just zapped down, hit the ground again. Security guards rushed up and zip-tied his arms and legs together. The security guard said, "Wow, that was wild. I didn't think he was going to run. Are you okay?" I said, Yeah, I'm fine," Ollie said. You're that octopus detective guy who lives a few blocks away, right?" I said, Yeah, that's me." "Well, thanks. We've been trying to catch this guy, and we hadn't thought to... How did you catch him?" And I told him about clinging to the ceiling by the door. "Oh, that's a good idea. I can't cling to the ceiling of the door, but we probably could have waited on the other side of the door. Let's write that one down for next time. In the meantime, we owe you. How can we help?" I said, "Well, I want to hear the rest of the talk. But then, you can buy me a cup of coffee." And that was the case of Ollie and the Crayon attacks.